Hey everybody, another episode of That Dexter Cow Guy podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm here with Ryan and Christopher from Two Men and a Hen. In my home state of Michigan this time, a little bit north of me, but it's not too far. And that wasn't bad at all actually to drive in. Thank you guys for your time. I know you're busy, especially after seeing your farm. I know how busy you guys are. So start off, I want to thank Mike Ligorio, my sponsor. He's Field and Stream Taxidermy in Howell, Michigan. He was on a couple episodes ago. We did a live one. It was a lot of fun. And Matt and Emily Boovy from Zeeland. Got it right this time. I usually say Leland. From Zeeland, Michigan. So, with Zeeland meat, what is it? Shamrock Meats. Thank you. Sorry. So thank you guys for that. This is why I went from not scripted, because I still mess it up. But anyway, so
it's okay.
it's the genuine stuff. It's the real stuff. So, well, again, thank you guys for being here. Two Men and a Hen.
Yep.
I like the name. I thought it was funny when I heard it, and then I did research and it makes sense. So, but is there? I know the answer. They don't know the answer. Tell us about the hen in the name. Obviously, the two men are here.
Yep.
Okay, so it all started. We first started the farm in Mount Pleasant, in our little house in Mount Pleasant, with just a few chickens, and then we bought this place here because we started doing a lot of research about like where our food comes from and how it's grown in supermarkets, and we just weren't liking it. So we were looking, and we found this house and property. It was a great buy, so we bought it. I grew up on a farm. I loved it. We posted a thing on Facebook, and we're asking people like, hey, we want a name for our farm. And
so we had lots and lots of options, right, to choose from, because when your friends and family get to come up with farm names, we kind of like did a poll, right? And so some of the options were a little bit crazy. Like we thought about two queers and a steer for a bit. So like, but it's kind of hard to sell vegetables. Is that that's not like a thing that people.
Some other were colorful ones, like the names and everything else. She was like, and his mom was like, well, you guys brought the chicken from Mount Pleasant with you. We actually own her still. Her name is Henny Penny. She's half blind. She doesn't lay any eggs. She's like 5. I didn't think, or 6. I didn't think chickens could live that long. And we still have her, and she'll live here until one day I go out there and she's dead, and I'll probably cry. And his mom's like, how about Two Men and a Hen?
I love it.
And we were like, we posted on Facebook, and as soon as we posted, so Ryan's like, my mom thought Two Men and a Hen, and people just absolutely loved it. We're like, awesome.
Good call, Mom.
And we actually have a picture of us in our hoodies with our meat sign, with me holding the chicken.
I saw that from the article that you guys were in from the paper. Yes.
That's the hen. That's the hen.
Okay.
That's
the
Two Men and a Hen.
I'm going to steal that from your Facebook to put on
for
this.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So that's the story about how we got Two Men and a Hen. She's our original hen that lives out there, and she'll live out there until we don't have her anymore. And I might have her stuffed. I don't know yet. I haven't decided.
So you guys are both veterans.
No,
he is.
I'm a Navy reservist and technically a veteran as well. I have a DD-214 because I was deployed.
Okay.
So as a reservist, you always get a DD-214 after deployment.
Okay.
After you do active duty time. So I'm a veteran, yes.
Okay. You in the service as well, or no?
No, I come from a long line of, like, my dad was in the Army, 2 uncles in the Air Force, my brother's a Marine, I have another cousin who's in the Navy, my other cousin was in the Army, so I never served.
I got you. Well, thank you for your service. I mean,
of course. Thank you for your support.
You're both nurses, and this has been a scary time to be a nurse.
Yes.
So thank you guys both for that. That's a pretty selfless act. I don't think you guys get enough credit for you guys being nurses, in general, for what you guys do, because you guys are high risk, and the COVID scared the crap out of everybody. So
yeah, thank you.
And you guys have probably seen the worst of it up close. I mean, being nurses.
Well, I went with the Navy. I was in New York for 6.5, 8 weeks, 8 weeks-ish. So I worked in a hospital in New York. I was at Bellevue. It was pretty scary. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen as a nurse, probably.
I bet.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's a job I couldn't do for sure.
Yeah.
Not only because I don't have patience, but for the million.
You have to have both kinds of patience. The ones you care for. Yeah.
Sure. So, tell us about Two Men and a Hen. me and little Brendan got the tour today, and you guys, the property is set up amazing with the way you guys have it split, and I'm sure you're probably gonna run some more fence as soon as we're done here. You guys have it divided though, so it works. You can move everything around without letting anything out technically, and
Yeah, so a lot of that big shout out has to go to the Petersons. Hans and Cheryl Peterson were our farm mentors from the beginning when we started with cattle, and they helped us essentially design all of our cattle pastures, and gave us a lot of really good tips on how to make things better. So like you said, all of our pastures are divided by alleys, so you can get to every pasture from an alley, and if the cows get out, they usually get out on the alley, so
Yep.
I don't have anything to worry about.
Right.
If the bulls get out, they're separated by an alley, so they have to go through 2 sets of hot fence in order to get to the cows if we don't want them bred. And that makes for herding. Now, we don't really herd anybody. All of our cows will pretty much follow us if you carry a red bucket with treats in it.
sure.
But if we needed to, or we have some of our highlands or field raised and they're not as friendly, so it's really nice to be able to run them through the alleys so you
Sure.
don't have to work. And we did put in gravel drives, but that's only because our soil here is a lot of clay and muck. So anytime it rains, like 1 drop of rain, I can't drive the tractor.
Yeah.
Unless I have gravel drives to drive on.
Sure.
So, but yeah, Hans and Cheryl really helped us design our pasture layout, and that was really, really cool and helpful.
Yeah, without their help, we probably wouldn't.
It would have been way worse.
They kind of told us everything that they helped us by telling us everything that they should have done.
It's nicer to learn that way from someone else's than to be the one like I wish I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and Hans is another Michigander, East Coast Michigan. Just in case anybody wants to know, Hans Peterson.
Yeah.
You can look him up. They're good people. I've talked to him. I haven't spent as much time with you guys, obviously, as them, but.
Oh yeah, they raise Dexters and Highlands and
Yep.
fainting goats. But yeah, lots. of
Fan goats are a little more fun than I should. Yeah. So how many Dexters? Well, how many head do you have here, Dexter? We can break it down to Dexter, and this is a treat for me because it's my first chondro, and you can ask people. I've been asking everybody who can I talk to that has chondro, and nobody wanted to come on, so I didn't even know you had chondro until I got here.
Yeah, so we have chondro carriers, both Dexter and Highland chondro carriers. We have somewhere around 47 head of cattle, I believe. Maybe 48.
Depending what time of day it is. There could be babies dropping. And
Yep. And we have babies going and coming still. We still have the potential to have 6 calves this year, and probably the fall if we were going to have them, because we had 4 heifers that could have been bred late, and then we bought a cow that could be bred. But so right around 50-ish cows is what we have. And I think we're at like just under, right around 20 Dexters. 25 Dexters maybe?
Yeah.
Including the calves.
so did the Dexter come first, or did the Highland come first?
Dexters. Dexters
Okay.
came first. We bought
Artemis and Athena.
Artemis and Athena as bottle baby heifers.
Okay.
And then we, not long after, like within a couple of months, added 2 more, which was Persephone and someone else, Demeter.
Yeah.
And then it just got out of control.
Snowballs from there.
Yeah.
And now we have
Fast
50. In 4 years, we went from 2 to 50.
Yeah.
They multiply quickly.
We're gonna get some pictures of what I'm looking at right now, but this is an amazing view. I mean, if you think about it, because you got the water, you got the cows, the ducks, and geese wandering around. This is great. I mean, we could definitely sit out here, spend some time.
So it's my favorite.
Have more than a minute.
It's my favorite 2 days a month. Well, about 2 days a month we get to put Dexters across from the pond, so I can see them from the front porch. We have very limited grazing season in Michigan, anyways, and then the pasture there is pretty small. So with all of the girls out there at the same time, which is only like 15 or so, and their calves, they can do it in 2 days. So I get 1 weekend a month, essentially. And we kind of try to plan it for a weekend that we're home.
That's a good way to do it. Why not enjoy it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can pretty much see our dry lots from the porch as well, but it's not as majestic as across from the pond.
Yeah.
And it's really last year we had the bull in June and July, so you would see the bulls weighed a lot more in the water, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, my wife loves that. When we were in Mississippi, there was one Dexter right in the middle of her big pond. I got a picture of my wife. It's like, oh.
The Highlands are really famous for that, and in the Highland pasture, when they're not in the woods, they're in a pasture with a pond that they can wade in, and they will all wade up into their backs.
Yeah.
But the Dexters generally won't go past their belly. So it's interesting.
That's bad. Creatures I have.
Yeah.
So let's see. Explain your breeding program. I know you're going to do things a little bit different. We were talking about you're trying to plan for all spring calves.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people understand that, including myself. Do you have birthing pens where you try to move them to this paddock to birth? Because I mean, you have numerous. I guess I didn't count, but
8.
okay. So yeah,
Currently.
and one wooded one for the Highlands, which works great for them.
Yep. So our goal will be to add, when the woods is completely fenced in, it'll be 5 paddocks.
Okay.
And then we'll have 7 paddocks not in the woods.
Yeah.
All of them are around 3 to 5 acres.
Okay.
Except for the 2 up front ones are 2 acres each.
Where the bulls? Where we saw the bulls?
No,
That's where the bulls are way out is a 3 acre long
Okay.
pasture, and that'll be divided into. It's a 4 acre, 5 acre long pasture, and it'll be divided in half. It'll be 2 with rotational grazing.
Okay.
the winter areas are right up here where the Maxine, the little cows were.
Sure.
Those are usually our winter areas.
Okay.
We're going to, because we're dividing up into smaller herds, because that's kind of what you're getting to is, we're going with the Dexters this year and the Highlands in 2 years. We're going to 3 small breeding herds of 10 cows or less and a bull,
Okay.
and maybe a cover bull or a backup bull.
Sure.
And the goal is the Dexter herd is closed as of this year. We will add no more Dexters to our farm, and with our breeding plan, we should be able to breed for at least 80 years with it as a closed herd without
Okay.
problem. So, and what we'll do is, it's like a chicken breeders would know it as colony breeding. So
Yeah,
you breed.
sure.
With chickens, you would move the roosters, but because we want to breed bulls for more than 1 year, we're going to move the heifers. So
Okay.
you have a red group, a blue group, and a yellow group, and you move the red chicken or the red heifers to the blue herd,
Sure.
and the blue heifers to the yellow herd, and the yellow heifers to the red herd, and you keep the same bull.
And keep the cycle going for 80
Ever,
years.
80 years. And it really, you could probably go longer than 80 years, but for because our genetics are already pretty close, even though we have 2 really unrelated bulls to our herd, after that your inbreeding coefficient gets too high.
Okay, sure.
You should bring in new genetics.
Yeah. Well, in 80 years, if you guys are still doing it, my hats are off to you.
I mean, 100, over
I'll
100.
be 100 and almost 120 in 80 years. So
Goals.
if I'm still doing it, hey, why not?
Right. So you guys have a lot of other interesting animals here, inside and outside.
Yeah.
My, my son's in heaven here, so he's explained, and we'll have pictures for all this, and hopefully some video too. But explain all the other animals you have here. When we first pulled up, this is the first ones we saw. So.
Okay, so for pets, in or around the house, we have sulcata tortoises that are outside in the summer, and there are 3 of them. Travis is the breeding male, and he's right around 90 pounds. And then you have Oscaretta and Lucy, who are the females. Travis is between 20 and 25. Lucy is the youngest, around 10 to 15. And then Oscaretta is somewhere between 15 and 20.
Okay.
They lay eggs. Usually, Oscaretta lays 1 or 2 clutches of eggs in the summer. She hasn't laid
Lucy
any yet. Lucy should
Has
start
not
laying.
yet laid eggs yet.
But
A clutch.
she's started to do things that females do, so she may lay eggs.
Okay.
And then in the house, they stay in the house in the winter.
Sure.
In the house we have parrots. We have a couple parrots. We have 2 dogs, 2 cats.
2 by 2.
Yep.
Yep.
Everything. And then and we have Russian tortoises in the basement as well. They will someday move it out if I ever make a pen for them.
Right.
And then our farm, we breed Dexter cattle. We breed mini and mid-sized miniature Highlands, and High Parks and High Shires, which are all crossbreeds of Highland.
Yeah.
And then we have Nigerian dwarf goats. We breed Great Pyrenees livestock guardian dogs, and they live with our goats year round. We have a plethora of fowl, so chickens, ducks,
I've noticed
geese,
a bit. Yeah.
turkeys. Less geese. There will not be geese after this year because this is the last year of geese because they just make a mess of everything.
If I didn't know when you had this many, I would just snuggle my duck up here.
And we've had the geese for 4 years, and we still haven't found a single baby goose or egg anywhere. So they're just gonna end up on the Christmas table this year.
Hey,
So.
that's okay too. I mean, that's their purpose.
Yep.
And then we raise Mangalitsa pigs. We have blondes and reds currently, and we are adding a swallow belly gilt next weekend. So we have 2 breeding herds of Mangalitsas. We'll debate if we add a third and do a cyclical breeding program like we are with the cows in the future. I really love Mangalitsa pork, so that's why we raise them.
Sure.
Yes, it's very.
It takes forever.
It does.
But I mean, we are already a claimant to slow growth food, right? So we grow grass-fed, essentially meat. We raise our Dexters for almost 30 months before we slaughter them. Same with the Highlands. If we were going to eat one of those, you grow it for almost 30 months before you eat it.
Same thing with the pigs. You go from about 24 to 30 months before you slaughter them.
We're really 18 months, but right, 18 months. Yeah. But they don't eat just grass; they eat grain too. But
Sure.
But they're just a slow grower, and if we fed them a lot, they would get fat fast. But they wouldn't put on any muscle; they just put on fat.
So yeah.
We have to, and we do woodlot grazing for our pigs too. So
and you subsidize with beets and whatnot. For
yep. So we do. Each pig gets between 4 and 6 pounds of grain a day. We do whole soaked grains, and then we do fresh produce, fresh-ish produce.
Sure. Well,
from Victory Farms down by Grand Rapids, Hudsonville.
oh, okay, sure.
They sell all their excess produce for a pretty good price, so we go down there and get as much as we can haul at one time in our dump trailer, which is about 5 crates full, and that lasts us 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, that's not bad.
And when the
You
pigs,
have a fair amount of pigs too, so I mean, that's not bad. How many pigs do you think you have?
we don't
It's got to be 20-ish, I think.
20-ish.
Yeah.
About 20.
Yeah, so that's not bad. That lasts a fair amount.
And all of our herds will continue to grow. So we've only been doing this for 4 or 5 years. Not a very long time. And
make me look bad. I've been doing it for 6, and I got nothing like this.
also,
Good job.
I'm kind of a balls to the wall kind of guy. So
Go big or go home.
So our goal is to have around 60 to 80 head of cattle.
Okay.
And probably
So a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what it feels like. And then pig-wise, probably around 30. We're thinking probably about a dozen breeding stock at this time.
That's awesome. It shouldn't take you long to get to there. I mean, you're picking the right lines. Everybody knows Hans, and I dare say you guys are up and coming too, because your name's pretty familiar on a lot of people's minds. So that's a good thing to have. So
yeah.
So one thing I noticed, and this is, you guys do so much in so little time. It's amazing. I mean, you guys are just, and as busy as you are as nurses, it's amazing. So and I know the acronym's gonna be wrong, but the MAEP, Michigan Agriculture Environmental
Assurance Program.
Assurance Program, thank you. So I knew the acronym would be wrong. So explain that, and how many hoops you had to jump through, and did that cost an arm and a leg? Or
So it was free.
Yeah.
It was fairly easy.
Yeah, it's not really difficult. It
was a little time consuming.
It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of, like, we had to send in some water samples. They had to come out. The hardest part was when they came out and did the soil samples. It was kind of winterish, kind of not.
There was snow on the ground. It was winter.
So to do the soil samples, it was kind of tricky because they have to take so many soil samples from so many different areas on the farm. So that's where it kind of, so that's where it kind of got tricky.
Okay.
So, I mean, other than that, it's just kind of time consuming. It's not something that they can just come out on a weekend and be like, all right, here's your paperwork, fill out, sign here, you're done. No, it's something that, like, they come out, they talk to you, you figure out what, so there's the livestock, there's the cropping, there's the farmstead,
those are the, and then there's the woodlot one.
And then there's the woodlot.
Okay.
We didn't do the woodlot one, we did the farmstead, the cropping, and the livestock. But you figure out which one your farm is going to do, and then there's all the different books you got to go through, and then all the steps. And it's just like I said, they came out. They did water samples. They did soil samples from all the different areas, and then they did an inspection. And then we waited, and then we met again, and then we did another inspection, and they waited.
It's a government.
Sure,
It's a government program.
Yeah,
Right.
so that just be sure you're complying and you didn't just do it for one day and.
Well-
okay.
So essentially, what that program does for us is it protects us right to farm. So with all the law changes in the Right to Farm Act, it's hard to get protected if you're not a giant corporation, right?
Sure.
If you're meat certified, they automatically protect you. The the meat program will step in and help us if someone has a right to farm complaint against
Okay.
us, and we're
really
insured that we will be protected because we meet all the environmental standards of a farm, sure, in livestock, in cropping, and in farmstead. So we don't have mass amount of chemicals anywhere. We don't have runoff issues. We have all these things that all of our boxes are checked. All of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. And that's really what they do, is they ensure that if our neighbor ever has a complaint,
They could say, here's our list saying that's
Right,
not,
like
not from them.
Yep.
when our animals pass away, like we don't just have like massive graves. Like we actually just, no, we dig a hole here, we bury it. We dig a hole here, we bury it. Like we don't have big manure piles just laying all over the place. We don't have runoff here. We don't have runoff there. Like we actually have like good water for them here, and like everything's environmentally friendly. We don't just have like a big swamp lot and just
throw everybody out there.
Sure.
No.
So the big appeal to us was really that they would protect us right to farm. Our neighbors are amazing. Rick and Miranda are great, but Rick and Miranda aren't young, right? And
Right.
we don't think we don't know if we'll be able to afford to buy their property if they were to sell it. So if someone from the city buys their property, what do, right? And they have complaints because we have a farm, and well,
They
that's
don't
a
like the
farm.
smell of pigs and the
Sure, yeah.
the wind's blowing the wrong way.
You hear about all these horror stories,
Absolutely.
right? So that was one layer of protection that we could fairly easily get, and it's a 5-year certification. You get recertified every 5 years.
I gotta imagine the recertification is probably a bit easier than the.
Yep, it's essentially the same process, but Karen from the meat program, she's the person that helps us at our USDA office. She came out, I think we did 4 farm tours with her, and one of them with another person from the USDA. And then the final farm tour was with her and the state of Michigan meat person.
Okay.
So like, she made sure that everything was tip-top shape before
they brought
the real inspection happened. We had one citation that they wanted us to fix, and that is they don't want us to have animals within 50 feet of our well.
Makes sense.
So, and you didn't see it. Oh, we didn't talk about it, but our livestock well is behind the barn, and there's chickens that can run around it, and they didn't like that. That's
Okay.
the only thing that we have to change.
So that's not even a major deal.
No.
So that's
I just have to run a piece of fencing and just say no more chickens there. That's
then you're compliant.
problem solved.
And we recommend everybody in Michigan, obviously it's a Michigan program, that can to do it, especially if you run it as a corporation or as a business, which since day one we said if we were going to have a farm,
It's
it
gonna
was
have
going to
to
pay for itself
Yes.
within
yes.
7 years. So, and we're well on track to do that.
Okay. Yeah, and we're gonna do it actually next year. We just did our LLC at ours, so next year it's on the list to look into that more. Start looking into it this year, next spring, kind of get the ball rolling.
Right.
So why not? I mean,
And the greatest thing too is like you get discounts. Like I know if you do like Farm Bureau's insurance, they do a discount if you're meat certified, and if you can also get other discounts through like USDA or other stuff like that.
I heard you're more likely to get grants if you're. Now, and grants are hard to come by in Michigan because everybody tries to get them, but you're more likely, I heard, to get a grant if you have a meat certification. So
We haven't tried for any grants yet just because
We
we
haven't
haven't had the time, and usually with grants there's a stack of paperwork
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and
75-page essay to turn in. Yeah, I get it. Yep.
why do you need this grant
Right.
before somebody else? You're like, I don't know, because I want to buy more cows.
Need more Dexters.
We're not allowed to buy more cows, I was told.
That basically sums up the meat program.
Yep.
So another thing I thought was kind of neat is, and you guys are involved in so much. Again, this is just amazing me. I don't have time to tie my shoes half the time, and you guys are doing all this stuff.
We don't have a life.
Me neither. Trust me. But now I don't even know how much time you needed to devote to this. Maybe none. The Veterans Farmers Coalition, or again, an
the
acronym
Veteran
that I'm
Farmers Coalition. So it was not a ton of time. I had some struggles signing up, but mainly because my verification to prove that I was a veteran was a challenge. I lost a password. It was really something silly that I could not get fixed. We're brand new to that program. But it's a coalition of farmers who are also veterans that run farm businesses. So we have a fancy little sign, and we hope to do more with them. And we also hope to do, I would like to apply for a Sarah grant eventually and do some type of program and write a paper about it. I did write most of a white paper about opinions of Dexter cattle people and what they thought about a whole myriad of questions. Like I sent out a questionnaire on Facebook and via email, and I think we had just over 800 people respond. And I got some really good information, but I have struggled to officially publish it. It's mostly written. The results are not as helpful as I'd hoped they were. I didn't ask the questions in a way that give me a great amount of information, but it definitely brought up a lot of questions regarding how Legacy classifies cattle.
Sure.
Everybody believes that an animal that has horns is traditionally horned, which is not how Legacy classifies animals. And then it did ask questions regarding polled status and then chondroplasia. So, or achondroplasia, BD1, dwarfism, Dexter chondroplasia, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
So, and there's a lot of misinformation about all of those things from what I can see in the Facebook world and the email world of Dexter cattle people, right?
Weird, right?
Weird. What a coincidence.
Yeah. Yep.
So you asked earlier, we do have a few chondro carriers roaming around here. We have three. We have an old lady cow. We have a middle-aged cow and a heifer calf. We have a young bull and a 4-year-old bull that are all chondro positive.
Yep. And they're all just the hideous monsters that everybody genetic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Makes them out
terrible. The one you can call by her by her name, and she will literally run across the field to you with a big drooly smile on her face because she thinks she's getting a bottle, and she will love on you.
They're ridiculously
and
cute.
The older one, Inky is her name.
Who's only been here since February.
Who's only been here since February.
22.
Is 22.
So she does have a little bit of arthritis, and she's a slow lady. But I mean, at 22, I think any cow is going to be a little bit arthritic and a little slow, right? We hope to breed her this year and hopefully get a calf right before or right after her.
And Ryan's not specific or anything. He's like, I want a heifer calf, carries red, it's chondro, and you know, everything. And I'm just like, so you're not specific on what kind of calf that she wants.
She's got 22 years experience. She should be able to.
Yeah, she should be able to just knock that baby right out. Like, this is what you want. Here you go. Like, exactly.
So hopefully we will get a calf out of her. We have a bull calf out of her from 3 years ago. Eros is our chondro positive bull, and he will be the sire of one of our 3 Dexter herds. And he's cute, and he's handsome. He's got great feet, good conformation, good sheath. He has a really dished face. He's a little bit feminine, more feminine than I would really like to see, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And he comes from a mom who's 22 years old, and she had him when she was 20. So can you complain? Like, he's going to have some longevity.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and obviously you point out, I mean, anybody here could probably pick out most of the chondro positive ones. I mean, I think there's a couple that I couldn't tell on the black herd here, but
I think one that we have one girl that I think people would have struggled to tell, and maybe Inky. Maybe some people wouldn't think Inky is because she's not big, but she's old, so it's hard to tell, kind of, right? Daphne is a chondro positive, and I mean, if you look really closely at her, you can tell. But I think a lot of people wouldn't even notice.
So, what drew you guys to the chondro? Just as cute as they are, or is it?
So there's a couple of things. First of all, I love a small cow that produces a bigger calf, and that's like, so if we had a whole herd of chondro carrying cows, which is my goal really, is to have 2 chondro cow herds and 1 non-chondro cow herd. We always breed chondro to non-chondro, so you would have to have non-chondro bulls to breed your chondro girls.
Sure.
And a chondro bull to breed your non-chondro. But it really is very appealing to me that I can have a small cow that's going to produce a bigger calf, right?
Sure.
They do great for feed conversion, and they feed them up the same. Like Daphne looks great, and she had a calf not that long ago. They just do really well, and they convert well, and they're smaller, and they tend to be a lot more docile for the most part.
Yeah, you don't have any proof against that,
Right.
for sure. They all came running up to you. And
But that was all the cows too. I don't know if that's proof for it either, but but and really, we just like them. And I know people think it's a genetic defect, but I breed what I breed, and I like it. So
Well,
don't really care what
and
other
we've
people
had
say.
that talk, and I think
Yeah.
more people need to feel that way worry about your farm.
Yeah.
Enjoy your animals. I'm going to enjoy mine, and
Yeah.
we can agree to disagree and still be civil. And
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I told you this. I try to get even Hans, and I think Hans was just busy. I don't think he didn't want to come on. Like, but the chondro people that raise specifically chondro or don't want to come on and talk about it because they always take a beating, you know. And it seems unfair. I mean, that's why I wanted to have someone on to justify and defend them almost, because they're awesome little animals. They're cute. I mean,
Yeah. So
Well, you've seen Maxine and Minnie, our little chondro
the teddy bear.
Yeah.
Highlands. Like
Yeah.
they're little. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves them. I mean, so when someone comes to the farm, so even Percy, who's a Dexter, she's not a Highland, so all the Highland babies are cute, right? So,
Right.
I mean, all calves are cute, but the Highlands are like exceptionally
Yeah, those-
cute. Like everybody
The
wants
general
Highland.
public that
Yeah.
sees the baby fluffy cows, that's the Highland.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
So
even with-
Percy isn't that, and everybody loves Percy, right? I mean, when she was up by the house, because we put our bottle babies up by the house, and that's our personal choice. We bottle feed heifer calves after,
About
8 weeks or so. Nothing crazy. We let them be with the herd.
Sure.
We put them in a heifer herd, and they get bottle fed. It's how we make time to befriend them, right? Other people spend a lot of time with cows and give them a little bit of grain after they're weaned and all of
Yeah.
that stuff to make them friendly. I ain't got time for that.
Right.
I do have time for that. I would make time, but I find that it's easier for me to make time if I bottle feed them.
Yeah.
Because they have to be bottle fed. Like, I can't skip a bottle feed.
Right,
They
exactly.
have to be fed. So I don't have to go out and give them grain, but I have to give them a bottle.
Yeah.
So it forces me to do it, right?
Sure.
Some of the things I have to set myself up for success. We only have so much time, so
I get it.
we have to do it that way. But Percy, everybody loves her. Like, she is this big. Like, her back is this tall, and she is
6 months old.
8 months?
7 months old.
7 months old? Yeah, she's older. I mean,
Right,
she's
yeah,
older
but,
she's out with cows.
Yeah.
She won't be bred this year, obviously. She won't be bred till she's 3, probably, because she's so small. That's one of the drawbacks, maybe, is that it takes longer to get them big enough to breed. You hope to have your first calf at 3 instead of 2 with, like, your regular Dexter.
But I think that people accept that part of owning chondros. I mean, they go in knowing that. I don't.
Yeah.
At least I hope they do. I don't hope they try to do the same.
And if we were to ever sell a chondro carrier, which I'm not sure that will happen anytime in the near future, but if we were to ever, we would want to make sure that everybody knows you shouldn't breed chondro to chondro, because you do have a 25% chance of there being
bulldog.
a bulldog calf.
Sure.
But there are lots of people that don't like people that breed chondro because it's a birth defect and all that other bull crap. Then don't do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple.
I'm sorry that you don't want that, but so don't do it and leave me alone.
Yeah, you don't, and that's what I want. You don't. People that are for it don't have to be sorry.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And if there's no reason to apologize for
Yeah.
it. If someone doesn't like it, that's on them.
Yeah.
I mean, and then don't have it at your farm.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I
We believe, we like the belief around legacy animals and traditional and legacy horned animals. So all of our Dexters are considered by the legacy database or the legacy registry as traditionally horned. We will always maintain that status. There's a possibility that we would bring one red polled cow on, just really to show the difference.
Sure.
I would also do a white Dexter. People love them, and I would like to see the difference. I think you're going to see a huge difference in size between a red polled animal. For the most part, there are a few breeders out there that breed pretty small polled animals, but a lot of the ones that we've seen are quite large. I think it would be interesting to see the comparison. But we do hold some stock into that, even if you don't hold stock in the whole back to the 1800s business. Our stock, our original American stock before the 90s. So, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If that's how people want to delineate it or whatever. I don't breed bull. We have a lot of horns. We have unhorned. We have a lot of unhorned Dexters, right? Dehorned. We decided that last year was our last year dehorning cattle. We will still do it for customers if they request it and they put a down payment on their animal early enough.
Sure.
We do all of our own dehorning for goats anyways, so we dehorn our goats. Not a big deal. It sucks a little. But,
Sure. Well, I mean,
yeah.
the whole process in general, I think, kind of sucks a little.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. But we have so many horned animals now. It's like, why are we dehorning
Yeah.
cows? They look pretty with horns. We like the horns. We're breeding them because they're horned. So why are we not having them horned?
Right.
In the beginning, it made sense because we were afraid. When we first got into cattle, neither of us really raised cattle ever before. I had never been a farmer before. Christopher grew up on a smaller farm, but they had mostly horses and unhorned cattle. So we'd never been around horns, and it was scary, right?
Sure.
Horns are scary. Now I think of them as great handles. I don't know. What do you grab a hold of? Like,
Yeah.
when they're not doing what you want.
Yeah. They have a look. The Dexter horns complete the look.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can pick the black cow out of black cow by the horns. You can pick it as Dexter compared to some of the other breeds. You know, like the Highlands. The horns of the Highlander.
Yeah, a dehorned Highland looks really funny.
I got a guy asked me for a horned Highland once. And
People
I kinda
ask us, they come out and they're like, can you dehorn Highland?
Yeah, no, I can't.
Why don't you come out to the farm,
Yeah.
take a walk, we'll look at them first, and then we'll decide if you really want them to
Yeah, 'cause
horn.
it's
They
not
look
right.
kind of goofy.
Yeah, it's not right.
I can if you want, but
Even a good dehorning job on a Highland, and you just look at it and you're like, something is wrong with that cow.
It just seems weird. Yeah, I get it. And I kind of...
And you know, I think one of the big things that we have all black Dexters. We have that one done steer that's
Sure.
roaming around. We carry color, and we may or may not keep colored animals. We haven't decided yet. We haven't had any, so we haven't had to make the decision, right?
Sure.
But one thing that really bothers me is when people come and they see our cows at a distance and like, oh, those are some really nice Angus. I'm like, well, first of all, that's not Angus.
Time out.
Second of all, it's like a quarter of the size.
Yeah.
Get a little closer. That's a big cow. I'm like, no, this is a really little cow. It's like this tall.
Yeah.
But and people won't get them confused if they have horns, right?
Right.
They're like, oh, that's not. What kind of cow is that?
Yep.
and that's hard for us. Like, I try to explain to people what Dexters are, and it's like they're a little black cow. So it's like an Angus. No. But in order to explain to somebody, it's like
Yeah.
sure, but it's about a quarter of the size of an Angus, and then like, huh? Like, yeah, like.
If they don't know, I always tell
Well,
them.
no, like it's a black cow. It's about this big, and they're like, huh? I'm like, no, Angus. Dexter,
Yeah.
like, you know, like, it's not,
Yeah.
like, or they'll be like, well, can you sell like a quarter of your cow? And I'm like,
Sure. We get a hamburger out.
I know, I'm like, well, so, like, my brother asked one time, he's like, you know, can I buy like a quarter of, you know, your Dexter? I'm like, so you want like 100 pounds of meat? And he's like, what? I'm like, okay.
That's something on the high side too, really.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Angus, 1,700 pounds hanging weight, you know, 16.
Yeah, that's...
We took Hoover in. He was about 410.
And he was the biggest one
420.
we'll buy
He was
ever.
like the biggest one we had. And my brother's like, oh. I'm like, so yeah, so you get a quarter of a Dexter, you're going to get about maybe 100 pounds
a
of
box
meat.
of meat. It's a box of meat, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, so I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so we'll sell you half a cow, or you just buy a whole one. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, it's not like, you know, you're... And that's why we went with... People will ask us, you're like, well, why did you, you know, like, essentially, why did you guys choose the Dexters to begin with before, you know, we wanted to, like, preserve the breed and everything else? And it's like, well, you know, first before we decided that we wanted to, you know, preserve this breed and everything else, we started looking at like, you know, it's just 2 of us. So, you know, we didn't want like a big huge Holstein or a Hereford or an Angus out there. So if we were like to slaughter one and like, okay, we don't have anybody selling, okay, now we have 1,600 pounds of meat. Where are we gonna put it? I don't.
11 freezers.
I don't know. Where if we slaughter an Angus or slaughter a Dexter, okay, we've got 380 pounds of meat. Okay, great. We can just throw it in one of our, you know, or even our, you know, like the Mingolite says, you know, they're not the big, you know, like bear pigs that people get, you know, where they're 800-900 pounds. You know, they're 150, 250 pounds. And that's why we chose the breeds we have here. So when people ask us, we're like, you know, it's just us 2. So when we slaughter an animal, we're not like, okay, did you want to buy that half a pig or did you want to buy that half a cow or that quarter? Well, no. Oh, I don't know what to do with this now. I can just go slaughter, take a pig and a cow to the butcher slaughter, bring them home, throw them in my freezer, and not have to worry about like calling 13 different people to be like, hey, are you going to come get this? Why? Because it's sitting in my truck right now and I don't have nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
And a big part of our whole business plan is to cater to homesteaders, right?
Sure.
So we have all homestead, essentially, animals. And that's what we breed, is for people that only want. So it's easy to care for a couple of Dexters, right? That's not hard. A couple of Mangalitsa pigs, you have to raise them for longer, but they're small. They're not a huge
You can
Yorkshire
do it
or
on
Hampshire or whatever they're called.
You can do it easily on
5 acres or less.
5, 6, 7 acres, you know, with a family who is just starting. And we've had a lot of people who have come to us who started with, I bought a puppy, then I bought some goats, then I bought a pig and a cow. But these are families who have like 6, 7 acres who couldn't raise the big, huge, you know, Angus and stuff like that. They would never be able to make it, but they can breed and raise a couple Dexters and a couple of these and stuff like that and be totally fine and be able to support their families.
Yeah, and that's a growing market right now, especially with people like reading up on their
where your food comes from.
Yeah, the truth's coming out today. I mean, the gig zone stuff. That's why I think we got into Dexters. Initially, we liked the size and temperament, but then we saw the ease, and then we saw them growing and more popular, and we're like, yeah, we made the right choice. So for sure, because if we had the room, we would definitely have Highlands too. So I'm a little jealous because we love the Highlands, but we decided just to stick with the Dexters. You know, well, who knows down the road maybe.
Yeah, maybe you just had one little miniature one. One little Condro heifer, maybe. Or
let's not start that ball. the Highland cow guy.
You just need one. It's only one, right?
Yeah.
It's the first
First one, and then all of a sudden you've got 30, and you're like, I don't know how it started.
We just wanted one.
So what's your? I guess I'll ask you farm. What's your favorite farm memory? Or is there an event that sticks out with the Dexters, particularly with you guys, that was like, yeah, this is it?
I think my favorite memory was when Shazam was born, and we had Hans and Cheryl on Ryan's phone, and I'm recording it, and Ryan's like, I don't know why you're doing this, and I'm like, because I have poison ivy on both arms all the way up, and that's not an itch Moira wants to have. Probably one of my favorite memories, because Ryan's literally, because he was way bigger than he should have been, and she had overcooked him way big, and he was upside down and everything else. So Ryan's got Hans and Cheryl on like speakerphone.
So this was our second calf that was born here. Second, third, first, third, second or third. Not like very first year we calved. And Moira was like laboring forever, and I kept watching her, and she'd get up and go down, and the feet would never come out, and I was like, something is wrong. So I called, and I was like, what do I do? So I get her in the chute. Moira is the least friendly cow that we have, and she's an old lady cow. She's 12 or 13. She's always probably been a good calfer, except for, you know, because it's our first season. Why would she be good? why won't everything go wrong?
Right.
So we got her in the chute, and she let me get her in the chute, which
instantly told us something was wrong, because she literally like let Ryan walk right out there and kind of like grab her and just was like, all right, I'll go right out with you. We're like, okay, something's wrong.
So, and then we checked the calf. I checked the calf, and it was upside down. So I had to push it back in and turn it and then help it out. I didn't probably have to pull it, but I did because she'd been laboring for hours.
Sure.
And Shazam is obviously fine. And
Yeah,
he's a chunker out there.
Yeah.
He's a chondro positive. He's a year old. He's like that.
And this year she had Milton. He's actually right out there laying. I could
Facing us.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's the little chunker.
And he
He's cute.
was totally fine this year. She had no problem.
Yeah, so just, it's the first year you calf, you're always going to have trouble, right?
Right, yeah.
And then we don't do things small, so I think we had 5 calves the first year, and this year we had 20. So, so we, in 3 years, we've gone quite full bore.
Yeah.
Full bore. So, yeah, I mean, we have not had any other calving issues. Knock on wood somewhere, so there's got to be wood. But, yeah, so that's just kind of what happens, right?
Yeah.
So that was your favorite memory?
Just because I got you in arms and I'm got hold of the thing, and you're just like, why aren't you doing this? I poison ivy on my arms.
It's probably the best time to ever have.
I know, and I'm just holding the camera and I'm gonna watch you. As Hans and Cheryl's on the thing. All right, now, you can hear Hans and Cheryl just telling him, now, you got the hugs? Now, Paul.
So yeah, I don't know if I have. I have to think about it. We'll come back to that maybe if we have other questions.
Yeah, yeah. Most people, I say, the most common answer is the first Dexter they got. I mean, but
I think one of my fondest memories, and it was when we were very first starting. It wasn't here. It was actually, we talk about Hans and Cheryl a lot, I guess. It was at Hans and Cheryl's, and they have a lot of cows. And Christopher is in love with the Highlands, right? And I'm like, we're not doing that. That's fucking crazy. They cost too much money. We're not doing that. We're doing Dexter's because that's what we can eat them. We're going to eat these things, and that's what we're going to do. And I just remember walking amongst the bulls. And we did it today here, but I love to walk amongst the bulls. That's not something that people do, right? People that raise cattle don't walk with their bulls, right?
Right.
You don't go to an Angus farm and be like, oh, let's go walk with the bulls. Don't go to a Hereford farm, like, let's walk with the bulls. But here you go out and you're like, oh, let's go say hi to the bulls because everyone wants to see what the bulls look like.
Sure.
They're 50% of your genetics in your herd, anyways, right? And we can go out and walk, and every bull you can walk up to and give it treats or pat it on the back. You know what I mean? And they just wander around. They don't even care about us. I think that is why we breed what we breed. So that's why we have chondro-positive Highlands, and that's why we breed Dexters, because the bulls.
That's a good answer. I like it. But yeah, my friends, anybody that doesn't raise Dexters doesn't understand.
Don't go in there with the bull.
Yeah.
Can't go in there with the bull.
Was that a bull? And they kind of do the, and like, oh, you're all right. You're all right.
Or I get people who come and they see all the horns and they don't realize that
That's
cows and bulls. And they're like, wow, why you got so many bulls? I'm like,
that's
the females. Females gonna have horns.
Yeah, brown cows don't give you chocolate milk either. Just so you know,
just to clear that up right now. Still. So, is there anything you want to say to Dexter owners, farmers, newer veterans, or anything that advice or something you'd like to see with stuff going certain ways?
Yeah, so I have some things.
Yeah,
I have a list.
Yeah.
You did mention it a little bit. There's a lot of people that bash other people for what they raise. So if you raise red polled cows, good for you. I don't, but good for you. I raise chondro cows. Good for me. And if you don't like that, then it's not your cow. Don't buy it. But don't bash me for what we breed. If I was breeding deformed cattle that couldn't walk, then that would be a different story. But every one of our chondro carriers is super healthy. Even the 22-year-old that we just brought onto our farm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, she's a little slow, but she's 22. So all cows that are 22, she has all of her teeth and she still walks. She'll probably still have a calf next year. Yeah, that's one of my big things is I feel like we have a lot of animosity in the Dexter world that we don't really need to have. We're all here to preserve our ideal Dexter cow, so let's all do that in our own way. And then if you can register your cows, register them with whoever you want to register with. We currently register with all 3 registries. Will that may change in the future? We don't know. Would I love it if there was one registry? Yeah. I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. It might. I could be wrong. There's still a lot of animosity between people who breed traditional Dexters and people who breed polled Dexters. I think there's a little less animosity between chondro and non-chondro in that registration aspect.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that don't like chondro cows. I can't figure out why. We have them from infant to 22, and I don't have a problem with any of them.
We might get a lot of comments that explain why.
That we might.
but
Maybe.
So
I'm welcome to a discussion, but
yeah,
don't down anybody on it. You know what I mean? I'll ignore that.
Well, you saw Percy, like I called her name and she come running
Yeah.
right at us and she's lovable
and people are going to be probably not like that. We bottle feed some of our calves. So that's a common practice in the dairy world,
Sure.
right? We don't run a dairy. I do not milk cows. I have big hands and they have little tits. And I have no time.
Yeah.
I know it's more than that, but really, we don't drink a lot of milk. I mean, you have coffee with milk in it. That's it.
Yeah.
But milking all of our heifers and everything else when they're little makes it so much easier us to move the cows. All I gotta do is open up the gate. I don't even have to put up temporary fences. I just open up the gate, grab a red bucket with some treats and shake it, and I can literally have them follow me. I could probably walk down to the corner stop sign and back, and they would all follow me down there and just be like, "Hey, farmer's got a bucket."
Yeah.
So, is it worth it to us? Yeah, and I'll do it for as long as we have cows, just to make it easier for us to move my cattle around. And
There is. I've seen more than before people looking for bottle baby Dexters. That's a hard thing to find.
Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah.
So now I know where to send them.
We don't have any for sale.
No.
it's
So
this year, anyways.
Right.
That's kind of been one of our problems is our supply cannot meet demand. So especially this year, I think with all of the COVID and all of that stuff, people really want what we have. In good for us for marketing correctly, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
Good for us for gearing ourselves towards that market of people. But everybody wants meat goats, which we don't have. We have dairy goats. And everybody wants Dexters. And we've had quite a few people want pure Mangalitsa pigs. This last 4 litters of piglets were all crossbreeds with a Duroc. And for some reason, I find it very interesting because the Duroc crosses are supposed to grow a little faster. People did not want them. Like, we sold them for much cheaper than we would have anticipated.
Just to get rid of them because we couldn't get rid of them.
Also, I was on my way to New York and I was like, okay, we got to get rid of some stuff so that Christopher can run the farm by himself. But we went back to all pure Mangalitsa starting next breeding, right? So the next set of piglets we have will be 100% Mangalitsas again. But it's really amazing how many people have reached out and just said, we really want what you have, or we do very few farm tours now, mainly because of time.
Sure.
And COVID doesn't help, but it's time. We don't have time to do farm tours for people that just want to look like we're a petting zoo. And we love those people, and they can support us in all the ways that they can. And we're talking about maybe next year, because this year it won't happen, doing a farm crawl where local farms get together and we host so as many people can come to the farm as they want. And we can do tours, like a whole day of tours. So we could do group tours, and then it's not as much.
Yeah.
We spend one day, because every time we have someone come to the farm, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's a 3-hour tour. Like, I mean, we did a tour, but it was about 2 hours. Yeah.
3-hour tour.
Yeah.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. But that's what we did, right? I mean,
Yeah,
essentially, we did a walk about the farm is 3 hours.
And then,
Christopher, Ryan, thank you guys for coming on.
Okay.
You guys are great guests, wonderful guests, and to take time out of your schedule to let me come up here and see your farm and talk to you guys has been great.
no problem.
Like I said, you probably got to go run fence or feed or something now.
All
you
of
guys,
the above.
Yeah,
It's
you guys.
Go buy a new refrigerator for the farm stand that keeps freezing my eggs.
You got power out there.
Yeah.
We have to take pictures of that before we go too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Farm stand's cool. Coming in at actually, but we knew we were in the right place when we saw that and the MEEP sign.
Yeah.
So good stuff. So, if one more time, is there anything you guys want to just mention? Anybody? I mean, we can do this one more time just to be sure.
No, we talked a lot about Hans and Cheryl. We love them, and they've been an amazing asset to us, and
Very helpful.
we've been very grateful
Wouldn't
for
be
them.
where we're
so.
at without them.
And then obviously, while I was deployed, my mom and my stepdad, and my little sister, but really my mom and my stepdad really helped out here. And they still do help out quite a bit. So we have a little bit of assistance. If we go away for the night, my mom, my stepdad, and maybe my grandpa will come and do chores. And that has been a godsend. So very, very, very thankful to our families. And then my dad and my brother, They always loaning us like heavy machinery that I'm not supposed to use and stuff.
I getting stuck in the woods and mud, and we
But-
spend all day
So-
getting it unstuck instead of doing farm chores. But it's okay.
So we're very, very thankful for our families that help. And obviously, we wouldn't be able to have the farm without. We can't have 2 men and a hen without 2 men, right? So
Right.
Gotta be thankful for the hubby.
Yeah.
I was gone. I really was gone for the last 2 years. I've been gone for 12 months. So
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So 12 out of 24 months I was gone. So that I mean,
So for half the time, it was 1 man in the hen.
a lot of hens, and we just bought 157 more chickens. So I mean, like, life is crazy. But they were on sale, so it's okay.
Right. As long as they're on sale. But I do appreciate you guys coming on, spending some time inviting us out. I wanted to come out earlier before the COVID stuff, and then I knew you were deployed, and
Yeah.
it was kind of crazy. So I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe we'll have you out again, and you can do a virtual farm tour. That would be kind of cool. So we could share a virtual farm tour.
For sure, because we were talking about setting up something to do a little more as we go stuff, and to differentiate between the sit down stuff and
Yeah.
whatnot. Because I think that'd be great for people to see actual.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm not good looking, but you know.
My only advice to people is Facebook is an amazing tool. We are on I don't know, like over 100 Facebook pages. And if you are stuck on anything, you just have to find a page, like it, and say, I have this question, and you will get about 600.
But those responses don't make up for a vet,
Right.
or for a mentor.
And then
but
then you can just go through it and then ask other people. Our vet, find yourself a really good vet too. Our vet, we use Animal Health Associates in Mount Pleasant. Dr. Love is phenomenal. Get a really good rapport with your vet. We can call them up. We have such a good rapport. We just call them up to the point now, and we're just like, hey, this is what we need, and they're like, all right, it's in the box, come pick it up. Or they come out here. Our farm mentors, listen to that old man at the feed store.
Yeah, the elevator, he
Yes.
He knows. He's seen a thing or two.
And high tensile fencing is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Electric fences save so much time, money, and energy.
Yes.
And,
So
and future headaches.
Yeah.
right. So if they're like, I don't like, oh, I want to do the cattle fencing, or I want to do this or this. No, just go from the get go. Go high tensile. It's just the best.
Like I hit it
Yeah.
with a mule yesterday, and I might have snapped one wire, but still, it was like I repaired it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
If it would have been regular fencing, I'd been
More
out there for
wire,
5
yeah.
days, and
yeah, and it would look jacked up. And
looked like I hit with a mule. This is what happened. But now no one knows, except for I told you all.
So, well, we're gonna get out of here. Upcoming episode still, we have our vet coming on. We have Michigan Large Animal Associates out of Charlotte, but they have a new doctor, and they're throwing her to the wolves. So, but it will be nice. We just want to know what every cow owner should have on hand.
Okay.
Crash course, or crash cart wise, I guess. So that we have. Every time at the end, it escapes me how many we have, but I have like so many other episodes coming up in the works. So tune in again. A couple weeks, you guys will be out. We'll definitely have you guys in the loop before it comes out. Happy Father's Day to everybody. It's Father's Day today.
Yeah,
I forgot that.
yeah.
So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Thanks.